mindfulness and the training of attention is a critically important foundational piece, but it's like the foundation for the house. If you just stop there, it'd be like building the foundation and not actually building the house. Wisdom and compassion, wisdom and kindness are actually kind of the core components, but you need to have some stability of attention to do that effectively. You need to be mindful, to be present, to be aware. But let's maybe dive in a little bit to this topic, because these are terms, when we hear terms like kindness and compassion, we know intuitively what they mean, obviously. We can recognize them when we see them. But in Buddhist psychology and likewise in science, we really have to define these terms. They can't be vague and fuzzy, because you want to really be able to tune into the right frequency and nurture and cultivate these qualities. So I'm curious, maybe we could just start there. As a scientist, when you first started encountering this whole area as a topic of research, and there was a time when it really wasn't even on the map, it certainly is now, how did you even go about thinking about it? How did you even get clear in your own mind what is even meant when we use a term like kindness that is kind of clear in one way but fuzzy in another way?
Yeah, it's a huge and important question. And let me just say that when all this work started, I remember the first time um, I met the Dalai Lama in 1992, and I was doing neuroscientific research on depression and anxiety and stress. I was a meditator then. I was a closet meditator. I didn't tell very many people that I was a meditator, and I wasn't doing research on meditation then. And he asked me why we couldn't use the same tools of neuroscience that we were using then to study depression and anxiety and stress, and use those tools to study kindness and to study compassion. And one of the things that is just important to recognize is that in 1992, if you go back to textbooks of neuroscience, I guarantee there's not a single textbook that would have the word kindness or compassion in the index. And today it's very different. And so that's
And that's just
super cool.
crazy, by the way. I mean, when we think about how important these things are for us just in our human experience, like how that's a pretty big blind spot that the whole research community had. It's kind of stunning when you think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's also, I think, stunning to recognize how quickly things have changed in a very positive way. One of the things that we were sharing before we started recording is that I don't think that there is a single study in the scientific literature that actually distinguishes the brain mechanisms or the neural correlates of kindness and compassion in the same participants.
Hmm.
There have been studies on kindness and there have been studies on compassion, but there never has been a study that directly compared them. And when we think about it and getting closer toward a more rigorous definition, compassion is a quality that is associated with a disposition to relieve another person's suffering.
Hmm.
And that's when we see um, compassion. Those are the causes and conditions that allow compassion to arise when it's been primed, when it's ready to be expressed. Um, Kindness is something that doesn't require, if you will, suffering. You can be kind to someone who's happy. You can be kind to someone who is free from suffering, just to be kind. And kindness is associated with acts of that benefit another person in one way or another, acts of generosity, acts of caring, uh, and they don't that they're and so there's not this sort of prerequisite of suffering, if you will. Um, and they're very closely related, but we don't know to what extent that they actually overlap in terms of brain mechanisms and so forth.
Yeah, that maps really well onto the understanding of these qualities in Buddhist psychology. I mentioned how one of the first things you learn when you start studying these roadmaps of the mind and roadmaps in meditation for how you can train and transform the mind, you get these really precise definitions. And these terms, kindness and compassion, are defined very simply as the motivation toward happiness, to promote happiness, you could say, and the motivation to relieve suffering, as you just said. So kindness is just the impulse or the motivation to promote happiness. So that could be for yourself, like if it's feeling a moment of kindness where you want yourself to be happy, to flourish, any of those positive experiences, that would be a moment of kindness. Equally, you could feel that to another person. You could feel it towards a pet. You could feel it towards somebody on the other side of the planet. You could feel it towards any and all living creatures. And there are practices in the Buddhist tradition for which you do just that. Compassion, again, is just the same thing, but oriented to relieving suffering.